name is Angela Haben, and I'm here speaking on behalf today of the Chicagoland Coalition Against War and Racism.
And Angela, your spelling. Could you give us your name? Respect.
Angela, A-N-G-E-L-A, last name Haben, H-A-B-A-N. Alright. We are here today to publicly denounce the brutal, immoral, and unwarranted raids on community and residential spaces that have taken place in the Twin Cities over the past 3 days. The raid that took place on Friday night was on a community space that was hosting a dinner and movie night. More than 50 people, including small children and the elderly, were in attendance when at least 30 officers burst in with guns drawn and detained all the attendees, took their photographs and identifying information. Since that night, at least 4 private residences have been raided without warrants being produced or read. Items, including computers, iPods, and political literature, were seized in the raids. Representatives from the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI were reportedly present at least one of the raids. Our allies from Chicago are among those detained in the raids in St. Paul. The events of the past few days represent a high-level, pre-orchestrated effort to disrupt the protest and free speech of tens of thousands of people at the Republican National Convention. The fact that at least 6 activists have been charged with felony conspiracy to riot is a tragic attempt to halt all anti-war planning. It is important as activists and Americans to stand up for the rights of our sisters and brothers and not let anyone's attempts to silence us succeed. Speaking next will be Matt Gaines, a representative of the International Solidarity Movement.
Hi, I'm Matt Gaines with the Chicago chapter of the International Solidarity Movement.
Spell your name.
F-A-T-T-G-A-I-N-E-S. We have several members who are in Minneapolis right now, and we're here today to decry the police tactics of trying to intimidate peaceful protesters and squelch First Amendment activity. What we've seen has been premeditated acts of intimidation. There have not been arrests in most of the raids that have taken place. The raids have purely been storming a house with 25 to 30 riot police with weapons drawn, cuffing everyone, detaining them, searching journals, computers, literature, taking what they want, and then leaving. So we can see clearly that this activity isn't meant to stop any kind of violence from happening or protect delegates or protect the RNC. This activity is meant to intimidate activists who are there to protest lawfully, legally, and under their full constitutional First Amendment rights. So,
these are not a lot of arrests. 65?
Well,
65 arrests, and there were 7 produced felony charges thus far.
Right.
Out of the 65 arrests.
The press release is referring to arrests as people who have been detained for hours but then released. So they haven't been processed as an arrest or gone to the police station for most of them. So we are calling on the people of Chicago and the people of Minneapolis and the people of the United States to stand up. This is ongoing right now. This is our government, this is Homeland Security, this is city police and county sheriff all working together to intimidate peaceful activists and squelch First Amendment activities.
What were you guys planning to do? What were you planning to do?
Well, there are so many different groups that have been involved with these raids. I mean, it's everyone from far left-leaning activist groups to anti-war groups to veterans groups, groups of journalists, community journalists, journalists with Democracy Now!, a nationally syndicated program. All of these people have been raided. They've raided houses where a couple dozen people were staying for the convention. They've raided houses where just a meeting was taking place. They've raided public spaces where meetings were taking place with journalists and others. So it's really been young, old, and groups that run the gambit. They haven't just targeted like the younger, more activist crowd. They've been targeting everyone.
Are you guys really surprised by this though?
I'm somewhat surprised by the audacity of it. I mean, I can see when they can make excuses to go after some of the younger and more active groups, but they're just going after everyone. And I'm sure their tactics are meant to do several things. I mean, they're meant to intimidate activists. They're meant to throw off the plans for protests and marches and possibly, get leaders and organizers so that things don't take place as smoothly. I mean, they're doing this a couple of days ahead of time. Like I said, they're taking a lot of property. They're making some arrests. They're making a lot of detentions, and it's completely unlawful and unconstitutional.
What were those felony charges, by the way? What were those for?
The felony charges were conspiracy to riot, conspiracy to commit civil disobedience, and a few other conspiracy charges that have not yet been named yet.
Crossing state lines.
there's 7, and not all of the names of the 7 have been released. Only 4 of the names have been released of the 7. Of those 4, to my knowledge, none of them are from Chicago. Of the 65 people that have been detained, there are quite a few people from Chicago detained. It can be expected that they might be charged. They could, most possibly be detained right now. The status of the detainment I am not aware of at this current moment. I believe that there are still some being detained, yes.
Who has directly spoken with anyone from Chicago who says he or she's been detained?
I have directly spoken with people from Chicago.
Who have you spoken with?
I don't want to produce names at this time, just because the actions are still going on in Minneapolis. My name is Tovit Abdat with the Yeshiva Students Against the War, and its first name is Tovit, T-O-V-I-T. Last name is Abdat, A-B-D-A-T. Yeshiva Students Against the War. We have been in contact with our allies in Minneapolis who have let us know of the situation going on, and they did want to stress that they didn't want to use their names because of the raids that are going on currently and are going to pursue throughout the weekend, which is assumed to be true.
When did the raids begin?
They began Friday night at 9:15. They've continued throughout all of yesterday. We assume that more will happen today because they have not been stopping. So that is why we're not using names, in case that will produce them going after them even more so. But we did want to say that no matter what police efforts are trying to do to stop the freedom of speech that we have, we'd like to go forth and still use our freedom of speech and get our message out there that we do not believe that war is over.